You are listening to Second Chance Ministry Radio. You are listening to Living on the Edge with Pastor Chip Ingram.
Have you had better days? Are you bummed out, struggling, things not going well, and you don't know where to go? 3 little letters can change your world today. The letter C, P, and E can transform your perspective. If you want to know how, stay with me.
Welcome to this Wednesday broadcast of Living on the Edge with Chip Ingram. Chip serves as senior pastor of Venture Christian Church in Los Gatos, California, and is our teacher on this daily ministry outreach. I'm Dave Drury, and today Chip begins a new series called Living Above Your Circumstances. We've all found ourselves faced with difficult circumstances from time to time. The question is, what can we do about them, especially when the situation seems out of our control? Well, Chip has 3 key concepts to share with you today that'll put your circumstances in a whole new light. Well, now let's join Chip for today's message, Understanding the Power of Focus, from Philippians chapter 1, verses 1 through 11.
Is this glass half empty, or is it half full? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. It is half empty, and yes, it is half full. And life's a lot like that. But how you choose to look at it makes all the difference, because you can't change your circumstances. But you can either choose to focus on, you know what, this is what I've got and I can drink that, that's going to help me. Or, you know what, this is what I don't have. And you can spend all your life focusing on what you don't have. And when you focus on the half empty, it will produce a set of emotions, and it will spiral relationships, and it will produce the kind of person that you would not want to be around, even if it's you. And if you focus on what's half full and what God is doing and what He has done and what He has given you and what He is about, it produces a different kind of person with a different set of emotions. And instead of spiraling, it will do something very significant in your life, even if the half empty is very painful. And so we're going to talk about, how do you live a life? The power of perspective. How do you live a life where you can train yourself, and by the Spirit of God and the grace of God, not to play mental games, but to recognize that life is filled with ups and downs and difficulties in a fallen world, and you can choose to learn to look at the half full. You can look at the half full in your marriage. You can look at the half full of your finances. You look at the half full of the struggles with some of your kids. You can look at the half full that the job that you do have. You can look at the half full of the health problems you don't have, even though some of the ones you do have are a struggle. And we're going to talk about how that works and the impact that it makes. On the top of your notes, it says, The Tale of Two Fires. This is a personal friend. It's a personal story. I may slip up and use his name. It's by permission. It is one of the most incredible stories that you'll ever hear, and it sounds so much like it fits the illustration of what I want to talk about, you will assume I made this up. I didn't. It's true. This friend I got to know, and by admission, I would call him a backslidden cardinal Christian. He's a guy that was not really walking with the Lord, was not going to church, was not in the Scriptures, prayed some, cared about his wife, a good, decent, moral guy, but not really walking with God. But man, I'll tell you what, he was an entrepreneur, and he could flat out make money. He's one of the best salespeople I've ever seen. And he developed his own little company. He was a master cabinet builder. And he got some contracts with these really high-end houses, and he built cabinets for them for tens of thousands of dollars. And he became a pretty wealthy guy with a lot going for him. And then he got a phone call, and I still remember because I was pulling out of my driveway, and he lived near me. And as I was on my way to church on a Sunday morning, his wife came out waving like this in a bathrobe, and she gave me a little message. And they found out that morning that someone had arsoned his company, and everything was burned to the ground. Everything he owned was in ashes. He had 0 insurance. Everything he owned, all his money. Forget the long-term implications. He lost $500,000 in that fire just in material. And all the equipment to build all of the cabinets. and he went in the tank. He got clinically depressed. I remember later walking, and he was in our neighborhood, and watching him. If you've ever seen a guy in a bay window in a chair like this, I mean, he looked like, just staring. Depressed, eventually had to go to the doctor, could not come out of it. Life was bad, everything fell apart. Eventually, over time, he started to rebound. He had a number of, carpenters that worked for him. They all scattered. You know what? The guy's an entrepreneur. 3.5 years later, he's rebuilt the company. He's got a better contract on another set of high-end houses. He has now made a lot of money yet again. This time, this is a true story. This time, he developed a new team, and there was a guy that decided on Saturday he wanted to help the boss. So he went into the cabinet and thought he would clean up a little bit, and he was sweeping all the sawdust. And when he got done sweeping all the sawdust, there was, one of the things that you weld with, and he decided that he would get that cleaned out. So he lit that thing and wanted to get it cleaned out in the tanks, and it caught some sawdust in a matter of minutes. Everything he owned again was in ashes. I mean, now, he had a little bit of insurance. Round number 1, his focus was completely inward. But God got his attention. Through that process, he began to think, maybe there's more to life than cabinets. Maybe there's more to life than money. Maybe there's more to life than great vacations. Maybe there's more to life than skiing in Vail. And over that time, he began to get back in the scriptures again. This time, within 24 hours, because he was looking not at the glass half empty, but he looked at the glass half full. He lost another $500,000. Within 48 hours, he had a job for every one of his employees with his competitors. Within 24 hours, he had not only come out of his clinical depression that he was headed for, but he actually had a positive attitude. And he ended up coming over to our house, and he and his wife, and they told us this whole story. And I said, man, what happened? And he said, I'll tell you what happened. He said, I've been down this road before. And I understood what things can bring, and I understood what things can't bring.
Thank you for listening on Second Chance Ministry.